In episode 4 of the Alexa podcast, we speak with Alexa champion and solo entrepreneur Andrea Bianco of Smart House Consultant. And we talked to her about the unique and fascinating work she does to outfit homes with smart technology using Alexa. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome back to the Alexa podcast, episode 4. Our sponsors for this podcast are Fourthcast. Turn your podcast into an Alexa skill using Fourthcast. Go to fourthcast.com today. That's Fourthcast. Our second sponsor is the Alexa Conference. The Alexa Conference is the annual gathering of Alexa developers and enthusiasts. Learn more and get registered at alexaconference.com. Our keynote at the Alexa Conference is Dr. Ahmed Bouzid, who is the CEO and founder of Witlingo, which is our third sponsor of this podcast. Witlingo is a company that focuses on building products and solutions to deliver far-field conversational experiences based in McLean, Virginia. And the Witlingo team is conducting a workshop coming up on August 16th titled Learn How to Design an Alexa Skill on Voice User Interface Design. And people in the DC area can find out more about that, as we will have the link posted on Voice First FM in the show notes for this episode. Kevin Old is my co-host. Kevin, say hello.
Hello.
Kevin, nice to be back with you. Looking forward to this. We've had a bit of a hiatus just with how the scheduling of this podcast has gone, but excited to get back in the saddle with you on this. And our special guest tonight is Andrea Bianco. Andrea, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Andrea, I'm going to give you the floor and just give us your title and your company and explain a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So my company is Smart House Consultant, LLC, and I'm located down in Tucson, Arizona. I do have a background in business analytics and was formerly in the world of corporate America doing business analytics for a customs brokerage firm. And a couple years ago, I decided to venture out and start my own business. Our company went through a lot of transformation and changes, and unfortunately, I was downsized after I had put some stuff together and things got offshored. So I was looking for what to do next in my career. I had always been interested in home automation, and that was just coming off of the recent release of the flagship product, the Amazon Echo. Was somewhat familiar with some basics of home automation. Found it to be interesting, but didn't always serve my use case and wasn't always the most convenient thing for me, as I felt that within the home I was always tied to a hardware device. So always having to pick up your phone or your tablet to do something, which in my case was probably no easier for me than to just walk over to the light switch at that point or the thermostat. And with that release of the Echo, I sort of dove in then and did my research and just thought, this is it. This is sort of what I considered the holy grail of home automation for those who were home automation enthusiasts. And I thought, this is such a dynamic shift in how we work around our homes. So I thought, I think I can make a go of this. I really think this is just where it's at and see potential and growth here. So I started out, I'm a one-man band, started my own company here in Arizona as a Smart House Consultant. And that took me not only into having to learn the smart house end of it, all the mesh networking and other companies and devices and how they all work together, but really deep diving into the Alexa and voice technology. I began sitting in on all the Amazon office calls and making inroads and building relationships with some of the evangelists over at Amazon. They were so great to me. I can't even tell you. They really took me, a couple of them, under their wing. They would sit with me. They would sit on the phone with me when I had problems on a Friday night and help me through things. And I just kept learning the technology and getting deeper and deeper into it. And last fall was nominated for the Alexa Champion program. So I became an Alexa Champion and have kind of flown with it. And things have kind of morphed for me, and I've really gotten into the whole voice automation scene much heavier. So I continue to really try to be out there and evangelize the voice technology.
Cool. Okay. Smart House Consultant does what?
So what I do is my home is actually set up as a demo. It's a pretty full-scale smart home. A lot of people think they know what a smart home is, or they've heard of one component of a smart home. And the place that most people start are with lighting. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I have a smart light." And that's kind of their existence of what a smart home is and their understanding. And often I'll have people come over then, and I say, "Please come over, take a look at it, and let me know what you think." And to date, I'm still batting 100%. Everybody that's come in here, their jaw absolutely drops because it's nothing like what they had in their mind of just being their kitchen light or their bedroom light or something like that. Mine is pretty full scale, so it runs the gamut from, locks and garage door openers to all kinds of sensing going on. Um, Motion sensors, open close sensors that control things. So after I walk people through, I kind of sit with them and work with them on designing what would be practical for them to install in their situation and what would work for their lifestyle. So we kind of work on that design and architecture phase. The next thing, if they want to proceed forward, is I sublet out to a third party if there's any hardware devices. So any electrical work that would require a licensed contractor, we can go ahead and get that set up for them, do that, and then I come in and do all the programming and technical install. So getting the devices paired to the hub, getting the programming the way they want it to be. So when they walk in a room, what happens? Does a light go on? Does it go off after so many minutes? Those type of things, and then help them with that technical install at the end. So it's sort of a soup to nuts service.
Did I see it correctly that your company also helps realtors add technology to help houses sell, or am I just making that up?
Yeah, nope, you're not making that up. I've had a lot of realtors come in. I work with them. I actually have an appraiser in town that I've worked with and trying to get the word out about that, about what does putting home automation into your home do to the valuation of the home. Because it's so new, that's sort of a whole new animal again that is, kind of its own little business sect being formed around that. And also, yes, working with realtors and telling if they have somebody that has some smart home devices, how to sort of highlight those in the house and hopefully make it easier for the resale on the end. So yes, I do work with realtors on that as well.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
There's many things about you that I like. Number one, the entrepreneurship
Yes.
aspect. Number two, we spend so much time talking about development, and we talk about, the all the stuff that pertains to Silicon Valley and stuff that big companies drive. What you're doing is so unique and so innovative to take the technology and to apply it and work on a house by house, household by household basis to apply the technology. That's really cool. But the thing that really just pushes it over the top for me is working to sell houses for more and sell houses quicker using this technology. I think that's a total game changer. Can you share with us any results that you've had in terms of maybe there's a house that couldn't sell and then you added some smart speakers, or you added some Alexa automation or whatever and it sold, or it's one that sold for maybe a little bit higher? What can you share with us in terms of data?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of the data back because, again, I'm only a year old. So
Okay.
in developing it, I don't have a lot of the data back. But I will tell you with some of the appraisers that I've worked with and them trying to go back and do things, even for people with trying to get HELOCs to do these improvements,
Mm.
that's a whole nother avenue that's being explored. I've had some bankers in as well to kind of mesh this all together and bring that technology in and then see what the valuation is. And most of the smart homes, some of them that I've seen have raised the value anywhere from 10 to 30,000, depending on,
Hmm.
just how much is in the home and what will be staying in the home, what's hardwired in the home. Of course, there's a ton of variables about that. So that really is a total one-to-one basis, because a lot of these devices are able to be moved. So some people want to take some of their sensors and things with them. However, the hardware devices, obviously, if you've changed light switches out in gang boxes, outlets, garage door openers, locks, those things, definitely have to stay with the home. So those definitely increase the value of the home, especially if you're looking more toward that millennial set. That really tends to be a hot area for them right now. So I find it to be either that or the very high-end homes that have used the old X10 type systems and that thing. Those people, I just had a woman recently up here in a community who wants to get switched over to sort of this type of networking and mesh networking, because of the flexibility with it compared to the old hardwired systems.
It's easy to understand how families in existing houses want technology and they don't know how to do it. So they look up smart house consultant in the
That's another thing too, is I have hit, and I feel we're just not quite there yet, but really getting some of the home builders on board with this. I have knocked on doors, of course. I have read that Lennar, and I have reached out to them. They have homes around where I live and are pretty aggressive builders in the Arizona area, but trying to also work with the builders, I think, is really going to be a big opening space for somebody very soon, because I think as these millennials start buying their first homes, they're going to almost mandate it.
sure.
It's not even an option. And if you look at some of the statistics and what's important in some of the Nielsen market research, they were asked like a funny survey about what is important to you in your first home or your first apartment type setting. And I found one of the things absolutely hysterical to that millennial set: Wi-Fi, strong Wi-Fi connection and stability is more important than a washer and dryer service in their first apartment.
I could
So
see that.
I
And
think that just speaks to where they're at.
well, no, yeah, for sure. And but I think it's just brilliant, the idea. I mean, you're going to have all sorts of angles to play, but the idea of having a smart house consultant, for lack of a better term, that is available. Everyone's familiar with staging a house.
Yes.
Um, you take the personal stuff out, you move the furniture around, maybe you bring some stuff in, and you sort of cast it in a house in its best light to prepare to sell it. I think it's absolutely brilliant, the idea of having a technology consultant right there hand in hand with the furniture stager to if this house is a little bit difficult to sell for whatever reason, or the owner just wants to sell it quick. Hey, let's bring in this other person too who can set up, some Alexa-based hardware and give it a new tech angle to sell it. I think that's incredible.
I had some questions about networking. You mentioned mesh networking being
Yes.
a new option, and I'm wondering what is your approach with getting a network set up, and how do you deploy that within the house so that it doesn't interfere with either the consumer's devices? Can you talk a little bit about
Sure.
your plan?
Absolutely. Which is great, because I will tell you that I've learned so much in a year and a half of this. My partner is also a cloud engineer and has helped me a lot on that front, on some of the networking aspects of this. And one thing that I tell people that I give presentations to and that come to my home for a demo, that I'm becoming more and more, I guess, almost adamant about, and that is to have some type of system like an Orbi or an Eero system throughout, because what we're finding is with the standard type lease equipment that I found with, say, a Comcast or a CenturyLink, and I don't mean to point any one vendor out, but those standards, Generally, when you start putting in a lot of devices, smart devices into a home and on a network, inevitably, I have found a lot of bouncing issues. The Wi-Fi is bouncing up and down, and that is causing interference on the mesh networks. So that's one thing I tell people going into this is I would strongly recommend and plan on getting your own either Eero or be something like that to get those dead spots and those pockets out and really maximize the Wi-Fi. That's the first approach. And what I tell people about. And the second thing is just building a strong network. So just knowing how, that's what people use me for too, is to know how to design the Z-Wave mesh. So every so often we need those repeaters put in. How is the home designed? Is it a very linear home? And where does that router sit? Are we trying to go bi-directional or unilaterally down sort of, a line of sight? And being able to sort of direct people and the electricians and that type of thing of about where we need things put in to have those hops to build the most stable network as possible.
Awesome.
And then also guiding people, because a lot of people, as the quick first grab, as this is happening, Philips Hue tends to be, I would say, one of the leaders. Everybody has that name recognition with Philips Hue and maybe some GE, but also trying to work with people who are building both mesh networks. So if they're building a Zigbee and a Z-Wave, and trying to make them understand, we can't just pool all these kind of lights in one place and all these kind of lights in another. We need to kind of scatter them so we have, more stability in your mesh and that type of thing. So kind of doing that layout for people has become very vitally important.
Awesome. Do you recommend network segmentation for the devices themselves?
Not necessarily. It's so one-on-one and just depends on what the actual end customer is looking to do and how many devices and what type of devices they want in. So I would have to say it's just a complete one-to-one, design layout for them.
And do you have clients in remote areas with limited internet access or access to providers? And if so, how do you handle those? Do you go to cellular?
Yeah, we are not using any cellular right now. All of the ones I have personally done are in more populated areas. So I'm not really quote unquote off the grid using cellular type service. I know that is an option. I personally have not built those out yet. So I would not really want to give anybody wrong advice on that.
Awesome, no worries. And one more question related to hardware. You mentioned some brands, Philips Hue. What are some of the brands that you see that are winning in the area of home automation?
Oh, goodness. I was just looking at the Alexa skills getting ready, and I noticed there's 563 smart home skills on there right now. But I would definitely say Go Control Nortec. Those guys have been around for a really long time and don't have that kind of name recognition, I feel, like Philips Hue or Wemo does. The products that I have used from them, from outlets to garage door openers, I have never had a fail on those products and have found them really stable. Their customer service is good. So I think they're kind of back end. You don't see that at a Home Depot when you go, or a Lowe's when you're looking for those things. But then, of course, Philips Hue, the Iris even that they have at Lowe's, I even have integrated some of those into a Samsung SmartThings hub and system. All the GE products, the GE Link stuff, I have multiple light bulbs like that. Sylvania Osram Lightify light bulbs. So TCP's direct to Wi-Fi. The list is becoming endless, and that's one thing I also ask people when they come is, what is the functionality? There's two things we take into heavy consideration, and that is, what do you want the product to do? What functionality do we need? And what is the price point or the budget we're working within? Because I find that there's products for almost everything, and sometimes multiple products, just depending on those two factors alone. So if you want a light bulb that just simply dims or whatever, you can get a less expensive light bulb you can get a smart light bulb for 10 or 15 bucks on Amazon now, or you can go all the way up to $50 to $75. Maybe if you want multicolor spectrum, the RGB bulbs, you want them to dim slowly. You want them, the more and more features you add, again, the price point's probably going up on you. So taking budget and functionality into consideration is often what steers me to products, as well as what we can get to work together. That's also one of the things that I really pitch hard, and that's trying to use the most open source system to get the most products on a hub we can. And right now I'm finding that to be the Samsung Smart Things.
Very cool, Andrea. Let me ask you a question that I've sort of been curious about. I'm surprised it has not come up on this podcast until now. What is an Alexa champion?
What we are is a group. There are 27 of us in the world right now. They are developers, and I'll call them Alexa evangelists as well, that we just as good favor kind of go out and evangelize the products, and often most of them are also skilled developers. So you'll find a lot of the champions have certified skills in the Alexa Skills Store. We sit on the calls. We have weekly calls for the office hours. You'll find a lot of champions on those calls, as well as we have our own special champion call to every month or two with a representative from Amazon. We get early release to product knowledge. Sometimes we have a more direct avenue up to Amazon, so we have a couple contacts so we can report back bugs we find. A lot of feature requests you'll find coming from the Amazon Alexa champions. We're the ones who are out there, I'll say, more or less testing and hammering the products. I myself have 16 Alexa devices in my home, so we are heavy users of the product and kind of know almost, I won't say all the nuances, but a lot of nuances of the product. So it's similar to the Microsoft MVP program, just people out in the community who can help other people, I would say, with the Alexa product.
I'd like to know what your impression is of the AWS Smart Home Skill API.
I love it. It provides for a lot of continuity, so the end user experience is very much the same all the time. The user very quickly knows how to interact, what language to use, those type of things if you use that set. So I think as a starting base that it's a very good template to start with. That being said, if you want to get into a lot further customization, you can only customize that, so much. I do have a developer I work with, and we do a lot of custom type development of it, so we can really tweak on the Alexa service and build out sort of, in my personal one, I call it the brain. So when we invoke it, I say Madame A's name, open the brain, and that opens that skill for me. And then I will say almost everything can be done. So here's a little caveat. A little bit ago, I don't know, I think it was about 6 months ago, Amazon enabled the ability to lock your front door. There's always been this controversy about locking and unlocking doors or opening and closing garage doors. And upon release, she couldn't do any of that functionality. Then Amazon decided to take that first step forward and allow for locking the door. So you can invoke Alexa to lock the front door. However, if you ask her to unlock the front door, she says at this time she cannot do that. With our custom skills, we're able to get all that functionality in. So I am able to unlock my front door or open my garage door or do all those type of things. So if you can get in there and hone it down and get further drill downs built in the slots and stuff, you're able to get all that complete functionality of a home, as well as what I like to call data metrics, in a sense, back out of your home. So I have a bunch of reports. I can say, ask her for my house state. That goes through the doors and windows in my home and my locks and lets me know what state my house is in. So if I had any windows or doors open, it also tells me what my alarm feature is set to. and what mode my house is running in. The template is a good place to start, and then building it further out really just kind of blows the doors off of it, because then you're able to pretty much fully function and do everything in your house. So I do everything from my locks and all that stuff to asking for metrics to turning on my garbage disposal while I'm cooking. Automatically goes off after 17 seconds. You can get all that stuff built in then.
What is, other than your home, what's the most elaborate setup that you've installed?
I would say my home is probably one of the biggers, because I also have not only the devices that you think about, but one of the features that I find really helpful for me, and this is sort of come from my own use, but also I also try to help a lot of the developmentally disabled population, and working to get homes to function around their use cases a lot. So having a home that I say my home talks to me. So I use the Sonos system as well. So my home is able to talk to me and give me a lot of information as things are happening. So anytime my door is locked or unlocked, those announcements come on certain speakers in my home, or if my garage door is opened, or whatever you want it to be type of thing. So I have a lot built in, not just with what people think of the traditional devices, I think, locks, front doors, doorbells, and lights, but those sort of metric-y things in the home speaking to you, which sort of, I say that's like voice squared. So I can talk to my house, but yet my house can talk to me too.
Very cool. So, Andrea, for folks listening to this podcast who have heard about you, heard about Smart House Consultant, who have a need for either their own house or someone else's house, or want to connect you to somebody, what's the best way for someone to reach out and contact you?
Directly on my website is the best way, and it's the full business name. So it's www.smarthouseconsultant.com. And there's a contact me page on there, and you can just fill it out. I also have an email, which is the same name as the business. So it's smarthouseconsultant@gmail.com. So either one of those ways are the absolute best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you setting your time aside tonight and talking to us and sharing your insight and your expertise and just a little bit more about what you're doing, because it's so unique and interesting. And we greatly appreciate you.
I really appreciate it, and having you take the time and get the word out there, because I have also found in my research, and that's part of why I really need to help people, I feel, do this, is when I've talked to Best Buy management and some of the bigger stores that sell some of these devices retail, there is a high return rate on a lot of these smart home devices. And the reason is clearly not hardware device failure, it is integration. Integrating is the tough part of it. Buying the device is the easy part. Getting it to do what you want, how you want, and when you want it to do it tends to be pretty technical for some people. So that's kind of what I'm here to do and help people with. So
I can't imagine how much of a glutton for punishment you'd have to be to
A
go
lot.
to Best Buy and ask them to do anything with Alexa.
You're right. You're right. So that's why people hopefully need people like me.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it. For episode 4 of the Alexa podcast, thank you for listening, and until next time.